It's Friday, May 24th. This is an end of the day and end of the week SPY recap. And today on the daily chart, we end up with an inside bar that's a little bit green. And it's really not surprising, given that yesterday was a 3 bar, taking out the high of the previous day and the low of the previous day in a big bar. And that means there's really no actionable signal, either up or down, when you see a 3 bar. You don't know if that's going to expand to higher time frame broadening action, or is that just, is this time frame the dominant time frame, and in that case you might be ready to come back up, after making higher highs, lower lows, maybe you go back up. So the actionable signals come later on, either like today, an inside day. Now we have an actionable signal either up or down, or you could have had a little bit of continuation down, 3, 2 down, then the actionable signal would be 2 up, meaning you couldn't really extend this range, and now you're ready to come back up through it. But the day after, it's almost, in many cases, you're going to just get inside choppy, action, or maybe probing the direction of the outside bar. But in this case, we gapped up a little bit today between the pre-market range, between the blue lines here. So we were back, and we knew this the last 5 days before this big day was a big trading range that I talked about. We failed at the top of the range yesterday. Once we did that, and we knew that from opening price action, we went all the way to the bottom of the range, and then boom, we open up right, in the middle of the range again. So that was another sign that today was just going to be, a likely inside choppy type of day, and in this case, a little bit of an up bias in line with the trend that's clearly up. So in a second, we'll see what that means going forward into next week, some of the key reference points. Just to point out today's price action, on the 15-minute chart, the first bar here, we gapped up again from that low, and we were near the high of the pre-market range. First bar kind of had to look like it might want to go higher, but then it failed and it started lower. Now, you could see here this bar number 2 really never followed through below the first bar low. I tried to. If you would have went short here, bought puts thinking, okay, we're going to test the pre-market lows and yesterday's low and then see what happens from there, I guess you could have done that, but you would have had to immediately get right out at the halfway point of the first bar. I actually, let me see, I pulled up the 5-minute chart on the SPY just to show how that unfolded. First 3 bars here with the 15-minute bar. Then we went down on the, first 5 minutes of the second 15-minute bar. Didn't break through yet. Then we started breaking through right here. So you're kind of watching it within about a 2 to 3 minute time period and making a decision, is this going to be the move that really takes you down? Now, obviously, the very next 5-minute bar closed green and then immediately followed through higher. So if you just were aggressive and wanted to jump in short here, thinking the next 15-minute bar was going to close lower, then you're getting out right about here, and it's, maybe a 50-cent loss, type of thing. You just have to do that. And obviously for the rest of the day, the SPY, from that point on, well, that's the 5-minute chart. So if we look at the 15-minute chart, well, let's go back to this one here. Once you kind of, if you bought puts here and got right out, you had to take, that's why you take a small loss, because look how much higher it went. And quite frankly, once it broke out above here, it was a buy signal on the day to, you're inside of yesterday, but at least the structure on the day's up, and you ended up getting a nice push up. We paused, and then it just kind of settled in all day. You didn't even get your second push up, which again is not surprising, but if you bought some calls here, you had all day to kind of, have a little bit of a gain here to offset any loss that took place. If you didn't trade this, I wasn't looking to trade the SPY, because I kind of know the context is overall to the upside. After this big red day, I don't know what's going to happen last day before a holiday weekend, and you're gapping up. So I was still more biased to the upside when I was looking for stocks, and I ended up choosing stocks like, and I shot videos, Netflix I bought early on and did well, and then Meta I bought. I looked for the 2 stocks that were breaking up above their pre-market highs and having targets above, and both of these ended up being nice morning trades. So the SPY itself, you just had to, I think, kind of know it was going to be a little bit tricky. I think I pointed that out in the recap video yesterday, what the last day of the week, holiday weekend, would be after this big broadening bar, and now you end up with an inside bar. So let's quickly just look at what unfolds into next week. Here's the weekly chart. We're all-time highs, exhaustion risk. To me, this is just 4 weeks in a row up and just a pause quite frankly. That's very common. It doesn't look damaging with a big red bar to expect lower. So, you might pause around here, but eventually the trend, still is intact to the upside. Obviously, it's a signal. If you get a 2-down week, then you'd expect price to kind of, hit this target, and you'd want to see if that develops day after day. And if it goes down there, then that's kind of maybe you're getting exhaustion risk on the upside, and you're getting the pause bar, and we get a 2-down big red bar, and who knows if that's what's going to happen. Or it can come down and not even give you a signal on the weekly chart, or if it can come down on the weekly chart and not reach its target, that gets very exciting to continue the uptrend. I just think we've been up for like 4 weeks in a row, almost 5 weeks in a row, and this little pausing here is very logical after taking out those highs. It's kind of the inflection point. Just picture it's like an intraday chart that's coming up, inflection point, pause, pause, pause. As long as it stays orderly, and here at some point we are expecting higher, and that falls in line with the monthly chart that's green on a 2-up. We still have a few days to go in the month. Likely this is going to close green for the month, which would mean you'd expect higher a little bit into next month, and that's kind of what I'm looking at. So obviously the actionable signal on the daily chart coming into next week after the holiday weekend is up or down. If it goes down, you'd want to see if it takes out that low, and if it fails, then get excited to come back through the range. If it goes up, like before, we want to see if it breaks out of this range that's unfolded here. So we still have to get out of this big red bar. This little inside bar could fail either way, and then that's an exciting reversal trade. If it goes down, get excited. If it can't reach any targets to get long, if it goes up, I'm not too excited, but I would still get short on a failure and see if we maybe get a weekly low. So in other words, I'm expecting higher. I think this is just a pause area. Let's just watch the weekly chart and see if we kind of get a 2-down week, and that would have to happen with an inside bar break to the downside on the daily chart and take out that low. If not, or if it comes down and can't get that, then I'm more biased to the upside, and I'd like to look for signals that develop into next week that get to that lead you to the upside. That would be the best ones to take if they unfold. So we'll see what happens next week. Kind of an actionable signal on this inside bar, but just know inside bars can always fail, and you're right in the middle of this range still, and that's what I kind of don't like, is that he spread this 15-minute chart out, just a big range in here with the high and this low being tested. So anything up and down, if you go up, the context is we got to break out of there. You got to see good price action up there, and if we go down, you got to break to the downside. So we're kind of stuck in an area here coming to the end of the month, but we'll just see what happens. I still think there's enough volatility for some good trading, and eventually there'll be some clear signals, I think, developing in terms of where price really wants to go next on a sustainable basis.